My Wife Goes Back to School is a 1981 comedy all-Italiana film directed by Giuliana Carnimio and starring Renzo Montagnani with Carmen Russo, a star of the genre in the early 80s. Following a group of tourists visiting the monument of the city, Valentina suddenly feels the need to give herself a culture and decide to go back to school. Much to the chagrin of her husband Aristide, a butcher dedicated only to his shop, to money, and of course to beautiful wife. The boarding school chosen by Valentina seemed to be one of the iron ones. But on the contrary, everything happened to you, except to study about her. Even Aristide, unable to stay away from her concert, devises various expedients to approach her, without ever succeeding in the intent. Finally, the day of the exam arrived, and among the candidates there is also Aristide, who upon payment has been included in the list. Between misunderstanding, quarrel, threat, total chaos is created in the commission room. At the least opportune moment, the Minister of Education comes to visit and surprises everyone with a not a very convenient attitude. The finale sees the fiercest of the professor behind the delicatessen counter with the principal of the college at the cash desk. Valentina returned home and smiling Aristide dominating everyone. The housewife Valentina suffers from her condition of low cultural preparation and decide, against the advice of her husband Aristide, a wealthy food trader, to enroll in a private boarding school to obtain a high school license. Arriving in the college, she becomes the object of desire of the young male student as well as the distinguished Professor Giuseppe Piercaponi, highly esteemed by her. The plot revolves around the comic situation generated by Aristide's attempt to access the boarding school to claim his wife's attention. His attempts are promptly unmasked by the janitor Gustavo, every time asking him for money to let him in. A heavy joke hatched by the Jala student will end Aristide in the bed of the old principal, who will carnally take advantage of him several times. When the final exam is reached, Aristide is questioned by mistake, disguised as a young student and not recognized, who is very irascible due to a pill given to him by another boy. Later, her subject is Valentina, who dropped her cloth. A clumsy confusion ensues between her husband, the principal Piercaponi, and the member of the commission. In the midst of the fray, the Minister of Education comes to visit, who, indignant, fires everyone. The protagonists, however, remain in contact. Valentina continues to study in her husband's mini market, who hire Piercaponi as a butcher, the principal as a cashier, and Gustavo as a factotum assistant. Director Giuliano Carnimio directed one of the more memorable Jali, The Case of the Bloody Irises, as well as interesting and unusual crime drama Secret of a Call Girl, both featuring Edwidge Fenech. Here though he was apparently reduced to directing a leggere Italian comedy. But instead of having Panic as a teacher or Gloria Guida as a student, he has Carmen Russo, playing the pampered young wife of a wealthy butcher, who goes back to a private liceo in order to become cultured. How anyone is going to become cultured at this place is hard to fathom. You have the usual gang of ridiculously overage students who do nothing but pull stupid prank and spy on Russo and her roommate as they shower. The adults are even bigger idiots. They include her husband, who keep trying to sneak into the school. The battle axe of a headmistress who is so frustrated she will go to bed with an anatomy skeleton. An idiotic professor who Rousseau's character unaccountably has a crush on, and an enterprising janitor who makes money renting ladders and staging elaborate ruses to help people get in and out of the school. This is obviously a really dumb movie, but that's kind of like complaining that the hard liquor you are drinking straight out of the bottle doesn't really taste very good. It's hardly the point. Carmen Russo has an incredible body and you get to see all of it several times. Same with DePonte and several of the other girls. None of the actresses is nearly as talented as Edwidge Panic or even Gloria Guida. And at least Lino Banfi isn't in this. They more than fill the male idiocy quota without him. Although an avid fanatic of Italian cult cinema of the 70s and 80s in general, I never really liked the stereotypical comedies released in those same decade. Sure, I will watch them if I have the chance simply because I like actress just as much as any normal and healthy guy. But I never proactively seek them out like I do with Charlie, Pulizio Teschi or spaghetti westerns. The reason is simple: Italian exploitation flicks are quite stupid. Even though made by some of the country's greatest exploitation director and starring some of the most ravishing cult wenches of all times. These comedies are somehow always embarrassingly unfunny, infantile and dull. My wife goes back to school is one of the absolute worst, and I don't even know why I'm wasting word it since it doesn't even star an elite cult actress. Carmen Russo has an exquisite body, but she can't compete with anyone from the above shortlist. The script is a chain of a couple of lame running gags that get repeated again and again. Valentina, the voluptuous wife of a successful butcher, is sick and tired of her uncultured existence. She decides to subscribe to college, very much against the will of her husband Aristide. Not so much because he doesn't want his wife to be lectured, but solely because he can't stand spending a single night without fondling her. So while the entire male population at college attempt to catch a glimpse of Valentina in the shower, her own lawful husband must pay huge amount of Italian lire to the irritating janitor to sneak into her room. The jokes are the kind that make you go eye-rolling, including loud flatulating, idiotic disguises or falling from ladder. The most overdone gag is that Valentina loses her skirt because it gets stuck between a door or ripped off by a mugger. She really ought to consider buying clothes of better quality. The main plot is still tolerable, but the supportive characters are immensely annoying. Apart from the janitor, They include a frustrated headmistress and an art professor who is just as horny and unbalanced as his student. Wait, isn't there anything positive to mention? Well, sure. Carmen Russo's shower sequence is worth rewinding. Her roommate is a former Miss Italy and some random but incredibly attractive girl take her clothes off because she has a headache.